Hi again, everybody, and welcome to Inside Golf. I'm Harry Donahue. You know, a lot of people ask me, how much do I enjoy doing this show? And I tell them I enjoy it a lot. And you know what the main reason is? It's the people that I get a chance to meet. Well, today, case in point, our guest, Neil Oxman, you may not have heard of him, but boy, does he have some stories to tell about his years as a tour caddy for the likes of Tom Watson and Freddie Couples, and a lot more. It all began for him back in the early 70s, and now he's still doing it. And we'll find out what it's been like, some of the high points and the low points in the career of being a tour caddy. Neil Oxman joins us next on Inside Golf.
The 26th season of Inside Golf is presented by Destination Montco Golf. Your next golf getaway is in Valley Forge in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. Visit valleyforge.org. By the First Tee Greater Philadelphia. The First Tee not only helps young men and women become better golfers, but most important, better people. Get involved. Visit firstteephiladelphia.org. By the Philadelphia Association of Golf Course Superintendents, a community of professionals enhancing the game of golf since 1925. Make sure you thank your golf course superintendent today. By the Golf Association of Philadelphia, GAP, celebrating amateur golf since 1897. By Jersey Man and Philly Man Magazine, a digital publication and private business network. Read the current issue free at jerseymanmagazine.com. And by Inside Golf's partner since 1998, the Philadelphia PGA section, the experts in the game and business of golf.
Golf is the great equalizer. For many, this journey is an escape from reality, a chance to be part of a team, a career opportunity. PGA Reach impacts lives through golf by lifting people up, giving them hope, and sending them down an alternate path that they never saw coming. With PGA Reach Philadelphia, as in life and in golf, the most important shot you take is the next one.
The Golf Association of Philadelphia. Founded in 1897, GAP is the nation's oldest regional or state golf association. We serve amateur golf in Eastern PA, Southern New Jersey, and all of Delaware. GAP welcomes all golfers, junior or senior, male or female, public or private. Join the Golf Association of Philadelphia today. Our mission is always to preserve, protect, and promote the great game of golf. Before you tee it up, look us up. Visit gapgolf.org to find out more.
Welcome back to Inside Golf. We are here at Walnut Lane, the home of the First Tee program of Philadelphia. And a gentleman to my left here is Neil Oxman. Neil, as I said in my open, had quite a route to where we are today in terms of his role as a pro caddy for some of the best players in the world. Most of them on the bag for Tom Watson at some big events. And Neil, we want to begin, first of all, by thanking you for taking time out. I know the First Tee in Walnut Lane plays a big part of your life. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But let's go back to Neil Oxman, graduating from law school back in what, the early 70s or so?
Mid-70s, yeah.
And I guess you could say by then you had determined you weren't going to be a lawyer, right?
Well, I always wanted to be in politics. And so everybody told me back then when I graduated from college that if you wanted to be in politics, you had to go to law school. I never wanted to practice law. I've kept my bar membership up all these years, but as I said, I've been lucky. I've never had to practice 1 hour of one day. The dean of my law school always says to me when he sees me, quote, "Oxman, you barely know enough about the law to talk about it at cocktail parties."
Okay.
But
Was he honest?
Yes. My second and third year of law school, I literally never went to a class because I went out and I was caddying full time on tour.
What got you into caddying?
I used to caddy for I went out to Cobbs Creek with my dad. We were in Southwest Philly and he played Cobbs Creek and I'd walk around with him. Then I caddied for him. Then I started, caddying in the Monday tournaments, the local Monday pro tournaments here in the Philly section. And that's how I got interested. And I was caddying for a guy named Willie Maples, who was the assistant pro at Philly Country Club. And he got into the 72 IVB, the Industrial Valley Bank tournament at White Marsh.
Yeah.
And I caddied for him there. We were paired with a guy named Jimmy Hardy. And if you remember, the old White Marsh tournament was always the week before the U.S. Open. And Jimmy Hardy had he had qualified, the U.S. Open was at Pebble, that was the year Jack won. And Hardy, seeing me caddy for 2 days with Willie Maple, said, "What are you doing the week after next?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "Come out and caddy for me at the Cleveland Open." So I got in my car and drove out and started on the tour.
So that was really your first tour bag?
Yes.
That
Yeah, I caddied for Jimmy for a few weeks. I got a more permanent bag with a guy named Mike Reeser, who was from Seattle, who famously had caddied for Arnold Palmer when Arnold blew the 7-shot lead to Billy Casper at the Olympic Club back in '66. And Mike was a good player, never made the top 60, but he roomed with Buddy Allen and Johnny Miller at Brigham Young. And he was my first bag. I probably caddied in 72, 3, 4, the first couple of years I caddied on tour. I caddied for him more than anybody else.
You have a big history with Tom Watson. I think I read where probably you've carried his bag in more than 50 golf tournaments?
Oh, no, 150.
More than that? 150?
Yeah.
Okay. It's even more than I thought. When was your first opportunity to meet Tom and to work with him?
Well, I met him in the early 70s because his caddy was a really good friend of mine, Bruce Edwards, who passed away. And so the tour was much smaller then. I mean, it wasn't people getting on their private jets all the time. And we were all kind of the same age. And one of his best friends on tour, Andy North, is my best friend on tour. And so we all were just friendly because, you know, we were all kind of the same age. And, you know, Bruce Edwards and myself and a lot of the guys from outside of Hartford, Wethersfield, Connecticut, caddied on tour. And so we all just became friendly.
Right. Andy North won 2 U.S. Opens. Tom, obviously, multiple majors.
8. Only 6 guys in the history of golf have won more majors.
What clicked between you and Tom Watson?
Well, you know, look, first, I've caddied in 550 events. I haven't hit a shot yet, Harry. You know, you're still just carrying the golf bag, okay? And I learned the choreography of caddying early on. I caddied for a ton of different guys, and you know, there's choreography to it, and then there's a way of understanding what some guys want and what other guys want. I mean, for the last couple of years, I've caddied on and off for Freddie Couples. He's different than Tom. Obviously a great player, hasn't won as many tournaments as Tom has, but his, you know, what he wants is different than what Watson wanted. What Watson wanted is different than I caddied for a long time for Kenny Venturi and Frank Beard and Tony Jacklin.
Wow.
I mean, guys back then in the 70s.
From a different era.
From a different era. You know, and guys want different things, and you learn that fairly quickly. That's what a caddy does.
Maybe you can share a name, maybe not. Of some of the names that you mentioned, was 1 or 2 of them more difficult to work with than, say, 4 or 5 of the other guys?
When guys are going well and they're under par, they're never difficult to work with. Okay, when the numbers are black on the board and they're not playing well, then everybody lets off a little steam.
Sounds like most golfers I know.
Absolutely.
Whether they're playing for the Masters or just a friendly little match.
They're no different than anybody else.
It all depends on how you're playing.
That's absolutely.
We're going to take a break. We're going to be back with Neil Oxman, his life on tour as a caddy in some of the biggest events. Stay with us. More to come here on Inside Golf.
Parking is free!
Hey! $4! Yes!
With so many affordable things to do in Montgomery County, PA, go ahead, freak out.
Hi, Tony Salucci with the Beacon Group of Companies. If your company has between 50 and 500 employees enrolled in your health insurance plan, there's a really good chance we can reduce your costs significantly and increase the benefits employees receive. How do we do it? We put you together with several thousand employers of a similar size across the country so your company can get amazing buying power. Schedule a conversation with one of our employee benefits specialists today at mybeacongroup.com.
Welcome back. Inside Golf continues here from Walnut Lane as we're talking with Neil Oxman, who has a caddy now for 6 decades,
on the PGA Tour and the PGA Tour champions. And Neil, once again, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Harry.
Talking about your life. You're a Philadelphia guy, Bartram High School, Villanova, and then going on to caddy on the tour, as you mentioned so many times. But there's a lot of guys from Philadelphia maybe who didn't go as far as you did, maybe some who did, who caddied on tour that are kind of like nameless. Give us some of the names.
I mean, some of them are nameless. My brother caddied on tour for a few years. He caddied for Simons and Purtzer, won the LA Open with Purtzer in '77.
Your brother's name is Lee.
Lee. But there are three really well-known tour legends from Philadelphia. Nick DePaul from Broomall, who caddied for 40 years on tour, more than 40 wins. He caddied for Seve when Seve, the first year that tour players were allowed to bring,
their own
caddies in '83 to Augusta.
No kidding. Nick DePaul carried that
Nick
bag.
DePaul from Broomall caddied for Seve then, and then caddied for Seve when Seve won the British Open at the old course, beating Watson in '84 when Watson hit it on the road hole. Had more than 40 wins on tour.
Were you in that? Were you caddying for Tom in that time? No.
The other two guys were Mike Boyce from Philmont Country Club, who caddied for 35 years on tour, and caddied for Gil Morgan in 33 wins between the senior and regular tour with Gil.
Dr. Phil Morgan is
Dr. Gil Morgan.
Gil Morgan,
and then there's a guy named Mike Mazzio, who's from the Northeast as well. And Maz caddied for almost all of Fuzzy Zeller's wins. So we've had really, really well-known tour legend caddies from Philadelphia who've caddied on tour starting in the '70s, and some of them are still caddying out there.
Let's talk about working with Tom Watson, since you carried his bag so many times. Were there any moments when you thought maybe at Turnberry on the 18, that seems to be what everybody talks about, when Tom had a chance to make some history, and when what was that, 2009, comes to the 18th hole, 87 yards into that green, pretty firm green as it turns out later on, and he hits 8-iron. What was the discussion on that? Did you say anything to him, or did he just want it to be in his zone for that shot?
He hit it almost exactly where he had done the first 3 days, and it was what I cared about was how far it was to the back, and it was 196 to the back. And he said, I gave him the yardage to the front and the hole, and then there was only 7 yards from the pin to the back of the green, and he just said to me very quietly, "Ox, what are you thinking?" And I said, "I'm thinking 8." And he said, "So am I," and that was it. And all he wanted to do was what he did. He just wanted to hit it on the front of the green.
Make 4 and he wins.
Right, and the ball hit on the front of the green, and there's a tiny, tiny little downslope on that front that's not even on the yardage book. And it just hit on that downslope, and it didn't catch enough, and it just barely rolled off the back, and he didn't get up and down.
So you walk up there, and he's up against the primary rough, was he, on the fringe, and he has about how much to the hole from back there?
Well, he's got about 6 feet up to the green, and he's got 7 paces to the hole. So he's got.
He took putter?
He took a putter.
Okay.
Well, he came up and looked at it, and he was clearly thinking, should I use a wedge or do I putt it? Putter was the better play. And he wanted to make sure he got it up. You don't want it. It was very steep back there. You don't want to, have it come back to you, which can happen in links courses a lot because of the runoff.
Sure.
And he hit it about 8 feet by.
And now lining up the putt, do you help him line up the putt?
Watson read his own putts. I mean, once, a couple of times in 18 holes he would call me in, but you don't go insinuate yourself in those things to break up the normal routine.
Right.
I mean, most of the time he read his own putts, and if he didn't like what he saw, he would say, "Ox, come and take a look at this for me."
I think I read one time where he said, "Did you just open the face of the putter a little bit? It went by on the right side, right?"
Yeah. He didn't make his best pass at it.
Right, and then he goes to a playoff and loses in the playoff to Stuart Sink. And do you and Tom have a chat after that at all, or what was his mood after coming so close?
Well, obviously he was down, but what happened was, interestingly, he had 5,000 letters 5,000 letters people wrote to him in the next few months to his office. It was unbelievable. Because remember, he was 6 weeks short of his 60th birthday. I mean, you know, take any 60-year-old and have them walk around a golf course, you know, and they get tired. Take a 60-year-old and have them play in the Open Championship and actually tie for the lead after 72 holes. It's pretty remarkable. And so it turned out to be a pretty amazing inspiration to people in terms of, you know, the feedback he got.
Everybody was rooting for him.
Right.
Everybody was
right.
rooting
Stuart
for him.
Stuart Sink did David Letterman the following week. Then he did the top 10 list, and number one on the top 10 list was, quote, even my mother was rooting for Tom Watson.
And that was at Turnberry.
It was at Turnberry.
Where he had won the Duel in the Sun
right.
against Jack, like what, 20 years
right.
or
and
more
then he won
before.
the Senior British here in 03. I was caddying for him when he won the Senior British in 03. And, you know, so, you know, he
had a good vibes at Turnberry.
Yes, and he did. And what happened the first 2 days was during the practice rounds, the winds were one way. The morning of Thursday, they completely switched. And he said to me, these kids don't know how to play this golf course with this wind, but I played this golf course in a bunch of opens with this wind, including in 03 when he won the Senior British. And that's when, you know, I mean, he had it under control because you know, when winds switch on links courses and you haven't practiced, you know, with that wind, it really becomes baffling to a lot of guys.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back after our teed off panel, we're going to ask Neil, as we wrap things up here at Walnut Lane, to talk about maybe a list of 2 or 3 of the greatest moments he's had caddying. Stay with us. More with Neil Oxman here on Inside Golf.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think JT gets in.
Welcome back. Inside Golf continues with our teed off panel. Once again, we are assembled on the back deck at Lulu Country Club in Upper Dublin. We're with, to my extreme right, Mr. Joe Logan of myphillygolf.com. Joe, good to see you.
Good to see you.
This is your home club, too, sort of.
I won, yeah.
How about that? Oscar Mestry. Oscar's the president of the Golf Association of Philadelphia in his countdown year.
Countdown year.
How many more hours do you have? Do you know?
I don't know the hours. I know the months.
Harry Mays is with us. Harry, longtime supporter of Inside Golf and teed off. Good to see you again.
Good to be with you, Hal.
All right, gentlemen. Hey, this is a Ryder Cup year, Joe. You're a veteran Ryder Cup guy.
Many have been
as a reporter, journalist. And Zach Johnson, the captain of the American team. Luke Donald, captain of the European team. They have some decisions to make, don't they? They have, what, 6 captains picked for each one. There'll be a lot of controversy about who deserves to be there. Will they be voting from up here or in here? In the case of, say, a guy like Justin Thomas, does he have a shot?
Well, he shouldn't have a shot. He doesn't, I don't think, deserve to be on the team this year just because of how he's played. But, you know, he's got a record. He's a good friend of Zach Johnson, so who knows what'll happen. I like the idea that it used to be they only had like 2 or 3 captains picks. I think 6 is much better because it puts more pressure on the captain to make some good picks.
Right, and they won't make the picks until like literally a couple weeks before the event. The event this year is in Rome, first time it's ever been held there, so that, you know, there'll be a little bit of buzz about that. But Oscar, getting back to the controversy involved over who should be there, there'll be some questions about, well, how many live guys are going to make it as opposed to PGA Tour guys? First of all, for the European teams, they're not allowing live guys at all. So they took pressure off of Luke Donald. Zach Johnson, on the other hand, has to decide if he's going to go with, you know, somebody from live.
Yep.
Do you think that's going to be a big problem for him or what?
You know, I think the only one who's got any shot at it is Koepka, and I honestly think they're going to pass on Koepka.
Really?
Yeah.
You think, first of all, that he's the only one with a shot?
Yeah.
So a guy that shot 61-58 back-to-back at Greenbrier has no shot, and I'm talking about Bryson DeChambeau. That's never been done before.
No shot.
Never.
He's
on the PGA Tour, nobody ever had back-to-back rounds, and that wasn't some backyard
It didn't
chip
happen
and
on the
putt
PGA
course.
Tour.
Never.
No, but it didn't happen on the PGA Tour right
now.
now.
No, but I'm saying in the history of the PGA Tour.
So it still hasn't happened.
Okay. So the qualifiers for the U.S., automatic qualifiers already. Brian Harmon for winning the Open
Scotty
Championship.
Scheffler,
right?
number one.
And Scotty Scheffler.
Yep.
And Wyndham Clark.
Wyndham Clark.
I'm a little
because he won
surprised
the
about that
PGA
one, that he's that high up.
PGA champ.
He's
Now
got 2 wins this year.
Yeah. Would he have gotten in over Bryson DeChambeau, do you think?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Patrick Cantlay, you
Yeah,
happy with
locked.
that?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. How about, and I'm reading from a UK golf projection list for Americans. Jordan Spieth, Colin Morikawa. You good with that? Those two?
He borderline, you know.
Not having the greatest
What's
year,
great
but-
is he's got some choices. There's some really good names and players.
How about Ricky Fowler?
Well, you know, he's played very well.
You all
it's
remember Ricky Fowler?
Remarkable story of, you know, coming
It's a
back
great comeback year.
to form.
He's
It's
had a
been great
comeback year.
comeback year. He's one of the most popular players on the PGA Tour. You know. And
What does that mean, though?
Well, that translates into TV.
Can he win?
Popularity
Translates
matters,
into
I
little
think.
kids behind the
He's good in the
ropes
room.
with the hats.
You can pair him with a lot of different
Yeah.
guys.
I don't
probably.
have the record. What kind of a Ryder Cup record does he have? I don't think it's stellar.
I don't know that either. But I'll give you another name I think is going to come out and is probably deserving. Just the timing, Lucas Glover.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, that's it. I was going to ask you about him. I mean, he has come on really. You win once on the tour in 1 year, that's really something. You win twice in a row, including a playoff.
FedEx event.
Wow.
I think
He's got to be there. He'll make even your cut list.
I would
won't he?
take him over JT for sure.
I would too.
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
absolutely. But
He's
I
hot
think
right
JT
now.
gets in. I do. I think he gets
Wow.
picked because of history, reputation, and Jordan Spieth.
The European team is a decided underdog. They always are.
Yeah.
And yet the U.S. hasn't won on foreign soil since 1993. Okay? We haven't worn that favorite label too well, Joe. Is this the year they're going to end that streak against guys,
You know, on
John
paper.
Rahm, McIlroy, Robert McIntyre? Most people don't even know who he is.
Fleetwood.
Victor Hovland, who I think is a
Hovland is
real
good.
sleeper.
Talent.
Hatton, you know, as long as he's not breaking clubs or something. I'm only kidding. Tommy Fleetwood. There's another.
That's a strong team.
That's a pretty good
qualifier
squad.
for us. But then you have Fitzpatrick, who
Good.
won the U.S. Open Championship
Not
last
playing
year.
great right now.
Lowry's really hasn't done much since
No.
he won the Open Championship, right? But he's Sepp Straka. You're a big.
I like Straka.
Okay.
yeah.
Seamus Power, Victor Perez, Adrian Maronk. I mean, those guys probably wouldn't even, stick out in the lineup.
What's
if you had
obviously
to.
missing are the names Sergio, Poulter, two of their most productive players over the years, especially Sergio.
Yeah,
They're
I
not
don't
in
know
the
if Poulter
running.
would have, regardless of where he played the last 2 years, I don't know if he would have been maybe a sentimental pick by Luke Donald.
But it will be a change in what the European team has looked like. for
Is
the
it good
best.
enough to beat the Americans no matter who's on the U.S. squad?
No.
No.
Shouldn't be. Should not be.
U.S. should win, but it'll
Okay.
be close.
You think? It'll go down to a couple of those Sunday matches?
Just singles matches, yeah.
There you go. Harry likes Justin Thomas, folks. Huh? Big supporter.
He would not be on my team.
That's it for Teed Off. We'll be back more coming up in just a moment.
Designed by Donald Ross, Lulu Country Club is one of the premier private golf courses in Montgomery County. This classic 18-hole course boasts a new state-of-the-art clubhouse with many amenities for members to enjoy. Members are invited to play in events, tournaments, and enjoy guest privileges. For more information, contact membership@lulucc.com.
Welcome back. We wrap things up here at Walnut Lane talking to Neil Oxman about his career as a tour caddy. Give me 1, 2, 3 things that stand out in your now 6 decades of being a tour caddy, Neil.
Well, being paired with Arnold a lot in the early 70s, which was a lot of fun. I mean, I learned a lot watching Arnold and Creamy, who caddied for him. when I caddied for Mike Reeser all these years, Mike played almost every practice round with Billy Casper. And I mean, probably 30 practice rounds with Billy Casper. And the lessons that I heard Casper tell this young Mike Reeser, on the golf course about where, how to play golf, were unbelievable.
A lot of that goes on tour?
Yeah,
Older guys
absolutely,
sharing
absolutely. Yeah,
secrets?
Absolutely. And then, when I started caddying for Tom played almost all his practice rounds with Jack. And I've gotten to know Jack fairly well, and listening to Jack tell stories. I mean, those are, pretty amazing to go through that sort of, span of people. And also, a couple of times, because I was out there in the 70s, I was paired with Sam Snead. My player was paired with Snead because Snead was still playing. And so I saw almost everybody that mattered.
Yeah. What's going to be ahead here in the next 30 seconds? Can you tell us where you're going to be working, who you're going to be working for in the year ahead?
Freddie Couples, hopefully.
Freddie?
Yeah. I'll be caddying. I'll do some tournaments with Freddie.
And you've already worked for Freddie,
I've already worked with Freddie.
You don't have to introduce yourself.
No.
He doesn't have to introduce himself to anybody. The great Neil Oxman. A lot of people would like to be sitting in that chair.
I'm very lucky.
And live the life you've had, and you're still going strong. You're an inspiration, I'm sure, to a lot of people. And I'm glad we were able to share a little bit of the story of Neil Oxman. Thank you.
Thanks for asking me.
Good to have you.
All right, take care.
Neil Oxman. We didn't even talk politics. Who needs politics when you have the career that he has? Thanks to Neil Oxman. I'm Harry Donahue. Thanks for joining us. See you next week on Inside Golf.
The 26th season of Inside Golf is presented by Destination Montco Golf. Your next golf getaway is in Valley Forge in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. Visit valleyforge.org. By the First Tee Greater Philadelphia. The First Tee not only helps young men and women become better golfers, but most important, better people. Get involved. Visit firstteephiladelphia.org. By the Philadelphia Association of Golf Course Superintendents, a community of professionals enhancing the game of golf since 1925. Make sure you thank your golf course superintendent today. By the Golf Association of Philadelphia, GAP, celebrating amateur golf since 1897. By Jersey Man and Philly Man Magazine, a digital publication and private business network. Read the current issue free at jerseymanmagazine.com. And by Inside Golf's partner since 1998, the Philadelphia PGA section, the experts in the game and business of golf.